I'm Vinnie Politan. The subject of my investigation, teens who kill. We'll be taking a look at a range of teen killers, and we begin with a shocking case out of Colorado involving a shocking confession. Here's the story. In February 2021, Grand Junction, Colorado was shaken by the brutal murder of 69-year-old Warren Barnes, a homeless man known for his love of reading. Barnes was attacked and killed while sleeping near Crosby Avenue. The perpetrator, 19-year-old Brian Cohee Jr., harbored a disturbing fascination with death and had reportedly contemplated such an act for months. After the murder, Cohee decapitated and dismembered Barnes, taking the head and hands to his home, where his mother later discovered them and alerted authorities. Cohee confessed to the crime when police arrived. In February of 2023, he was found guilty of first-degree murder and sentenced to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. The community mourned Warren Barnes, commemorating him with a metal memorial chair near his usual spot downtown, honoring the gentle man they fondly called the Reading Man. This is one of those stories that makes you scratch your head. You know, this is a killing where the victim and the perpetrator, they don't know each other. They don't know each other. And a lot of the cases we cover at Court TV, there's people who either are married or in business together, or there's some level of connection. Here, there was no connection. There was a discovery by the defendant's mother. Calls police, police respond, and then just out of the blue for these officers, there is this confession that comes pouring out of the defendant. Take a look.
What's going on, man?
Not much. Cooperate. I am going to cooperate.
Okay, so parents have some concerns of some stuff they may have found in your room?
Yeah, I believe so.
And what would it be?
A human head and hands.
Like, for real human head and hands?
Yes.
From?
That fellow who went missing recently.
Which fellow was that?
Warren Brown.
Warren Brown? When did he go missing?
The night of the 27th.
The night of the 27th? Okay, and how did you end up with him?
I murdered him.
With what?
A knife.
Why would you have done that?
I've always wondered what murder felt like.
Chilling. Absolutely chilling. And think about it, the victim here had no idea what is going on in this young man's mind. No one, I guess, really knew. Brings us to the first question in our investigation. Why did Brian Cohee kill a complete stranger? We just saw the confession. I think he gave us some indication of it, but the answer's got to be a little bit deeper than that. Joining me in studio tonight, clinical and forensic psychologist, author, and host of the new podcast, Intentionally Disturbing, with Dr. Leslie. Dr. Leslie Dobson is with us. Also joining us, former homicide detective, more than 20 years of experience, big-time cases. Phil Waters is with us as well. Welcome to you both. Let's do this. I want to give you a little more information, and I want the viewers to have a little more information. Let's take a look at this young man, again, a teenager, being interviewed and describing this killing.
Is it okay if I do a demonstration?
Oh, yeah.
This is him. I was straddled on top of him like this.
Okay.
And he couldn't fight back. It was actually surprisingly easy. I was barely breaking a sweat. I thought, oh, this guy, he's going to be tough. But no, it was actually surprisingly easy. And during the time, I was growling and making animalistic noises.
Why were you doing that?
I suppose it was a frenzy.
Okay.
I was so excited, so rushed up on adrenaline every day. Like just, and I paused, and he said, "Why are you doing this?" And I I've been wanting to do this for a long time, murder someone. And then I continued. The whole ordeal lasted about a minute and a half.
Okay.
And I stabbed, and when I was finished stabbing him, he took out his last breath, a grunt, and his head was halfway cut off in stabs. All the while, no, actually, after I killed him, I just couldn't stop saying, stinky, dirty, dirty, stinky, stinky. I wasn't smelling anything, but...
Then why were you saying that?
I don't know.
Absolutely chilling once again. I mean, he's talking about taking the life of another human being, but a complete stranger. Dr. Leslie Dobson, what are your thoughts here about why he killed and why he killed a complete stranger here?
Well, I have a lot of thoughts. This is one of the most disturbing individuals I think I've ever seen. And the combination of potential diagnoses with what he stated he had, with the neurodivergence, the psychopathy, and what seems to be this schizoid personality where he's completely detached from reality, yet fantasizing and obsessed with this murder. And you can see in the interview, he's getting aroused. He's getting excited. When he growls, he actually starts to growl because he wants to reenact it and relive it. He is finally stimulated, and he's been seeking that out for what looks like his whole life.
Phil, what are your thoughts about someone like this? You've come across some bad people through the years. This kid obviously disturbed to a certain extent. Why do you think he chose the victim that he chose here?
Well, I've looked at this case a little bit, and his selection process was based on the anonymity of the victim. He was looking for prostitutes, or he's looking for what he believed were homeless people, because he believed that they would not be missed. And so the anonymity of this thing, I think, allowed him to march right into it without any kind of reasoning that he's going to get caught or he's going to be held responsible for it, because of the way he picked his targets.
And Dr. Dobson, I look at, he brought things back to his home. His mother sees them. She calls law enforcement. But do you think that he, like Phil said, that he didn't think he was going to get caught, and he may have tried to re-experience this and perhaps pick out another anonymous victim?
Oh, definitely. I am so glad that this individual is in custody. And I would also assume that the hands were found in the closet, the head, items were found in the home, that he was revisiting them. He was finding stimulation from looking at them, touching them, giving him the moment that he thoroughly enjoyed, smelling them. It's very disturbing, and I would think that this was the beginning of a horrible serial killer career.
Let's take a listen to more of that police interview where he's talking about what he did to the victim.
I stripped his clothes. I cut open his belly to see his guts. They're really pink. Sorry, that was morbid. Then I cut off his head. I gave him a Glasgow smile.
What's that?
A Joker smile. I destroyed his eyes by stabbing them in.
Okay.
And then I cut off his hands. I put those in plastic Ziploc bags. And then I cut off his right arm at this joint.
Phil, I'm sure when you come across someone like this, you're wondering, are there other prior victims, right? And listening to him, are you confident that this was his first time?
Well, I think so. He was very ready to explain what he did and why he had the hands and why he had the head in his closet. So I think I agree with Dr. Dobson. I think thank the Lord that he gets cut off here pretty quick. I don't think this would have been the last one at all. And if this had gone on and gone on, he kept the trophies. I mean, this is kind of typical. And a burgeoning serial killer, he's already honing his craft. So we know that serial killers over time, they always keep a trophy of some kind. He just decides that his trophies are going to be body parts.
And Dr. Dobson, is there anything significant about his young age, 19 at the time that he did this?
Well, I think the significance is that he's not fully formed, but he's had enough time to fantasize about wanting to kill. And there's evidence that he also harmed animals in the past. So he finally appears to have the confidence to follow through with this fantasy he's had. And, you know, we are unsettled in our minds until around 25, 28 when we're men. So, you know, this could turn into a more defined mental illness, and it could be even more severe. But I do see this as a beginning, maybe possibly a break in what would have been a more severe mental disorder that now, luckily, we can medicate, clean up, and contain him.
All right, Dr. Dobson and Phil Waters staying with us as we continue our investigation of teen killers. Coming up next, why did Aiden Fucci kill his classmate?
Mr. Fucci just wanted to make a short statement.
I just want to say I played out guilty.
30 years later, and I remember...
Where was I when O.J. Simpson was found not guilty?
I became obsessed with Court TV.
And we all said it, if the glove don't fit, if it doesn't fit, you must quit.
Senior year of high school, this guy at the top of the bleachers screams, O.J.'s innocent.
Such a divisive verdict.
You could hear the gasp.
My jaw dropped.
Relive the verdict, trial and error. Why did O.J. win? Season finale Sunday night, 8 Eastern and Pacific, only on Court TV.
Mr. Fucci just wanted to make a short statement.
I just want to say I played out guilty. And that I'm sorry for the Bailey family and my family. Okay.
16-year-old Aiden Fucci pleaded guilty to first-degree murder just before jury selection in his trial was set to begin in February. Fucci admitted to killing 13-year-old schoolmate Tristan Bailey, who was found stabbed to death 114 times. And the evidence began to pile up. The knife that investigators recovered from the pond where her body was found that witnesses say belonged to Fucci. Police photos of Fucci with cuts and scratches. And surveillance videos that show Tristan Bailey and Aiden Fucci walking east in their neighborhood the morning she was killed. Then an hour later, Fucci is seen running in the opposite direction.
They were classmates. They were from the same neighborhood. Tristan Bailey stabbed 114 times by Aiden Fucci, someone I'm sure she considered a friend at the time. Unreal story. Now, Aiden Fucci, we tracked this story for a long time, and there were some court appearances that he made. They were done remotely. He's alone in a room. I want you to take a look at this one, because this one really stuck out to all of us initially, and it's the first thing that I think about when I think about him, is this appearance that he made. It's a court appearance, but again, he's remote.
What's going on? I don't want you demons. I don't want you demons take my soul. You demons will take my soul away. I don't let you demons steal my soul. I don't know what's going on. I've seen him before. What's going on? What got going on? Why am I here? I just want to talk to my mom and dad. What's going on? What's going on? What's going on?
It's a bizarre moment. A lot of people look at that, and a lot of us looked at it and said, I don't know if that's legit. You know, is he malingering there? Is he pretending? Is he feigning mental illness, you know, in some juvenile type of way? But let's get back to our investigation and the next question in our investigation, and it's the most important one in all these, I think. Why did Aiden Fucci kill his classmate? This was someone that obviously trusted him, that knew him. Why would he do that? 114 times. Still with me, Dr. Leslie Dobson and Phil Waters. Phil, what are your initial thoughts about Aiden Fucci?
Well, I'm going to use a technical term that we had in homicide when talking about people like this that have committed these kinds of acts, and that term is evil. Regardless of what the mental health issues may be here, this is evil manifested in the actions of these young men. In this particular case, I think that was a very interesting video of him sitting in that room with the telephone and getting ready to, I guess, report to the court. And I don't look at this. I've interviewed a lot of people, and I've interviewed people like him. I don't take this as being an act. I think what we're witnessing here is his being surrounded, or he believes he's being surrounded by demons. And that would explain further to me, it would further explain the actions that he took, stabbing somebody 114 times, my gosh, regardless of who it is, but this innocent young girl. That's the only description I can come up with, and the only reason I can determine that he commits that kind of an act. It's just a pure act of evil.
Dr. Leslie Dobson, I want you to take a look at this as well. This is from Aiden Fucci's Snapchat. He's in the back of a police car, and everyone knows that at this point, I believe they're still searching for Tristan Bailey because she's missing. Let's take a look.
We're having fun in a cop car. Yep. Tristan. What's up, guys? Yep. Tristan, if you walk out the damn... When you see this in a month...
Okay, so you have a certain demeanor there. We saw what happened after he was arrested and making that appearance. What's going on here, Dr. Dobson?
I think it's important to remember that even if you do have mental health symptoms, you can still use them to manipulate your case. So even if he is hearing voices, he could still be feigning and faking and malingering in that scene, knowing the cameras were on. And for me, what stands out with this kid is that he was obsessed with knives. He gave them nicknames. He wanted to use a knife. He wanted to kill someone. He wanted to do it in the woods. So when I see this video of him, maybe he heard voices, maybe there is evil, maybe there is the devil, but he's also a horrible human being and mature enough to be held accountable for a life sentence of murder.
Let's take a listen to the attorneys and the judge in court talking about some of the circumstances surrounding the actions of Aiden Fucci.
He knew what consequences were because he immediately hid a murder weapon so he wouldn't be caught with it on his way home. He went right up into his room as evidenced by that video. He hid the shoes and white shirt behind his dresser. He immediately went in a shower, spent a decent amount of time in that shower, washing evidence off his body. He snuck through that house quietly so nobody would find him or hear him coming home. He did things. He knew he had just done something wrong, and he was trying to cover it up, and then he lies.
This crime is extraordinary. His behavior was so unusual compared to individuals his age that there is a poor prognosis for rehabilitation. The effect of this crime that has had on the victim's family and on the community is significant.
And we're looking at some of the video from inside the house. His mother got in trouble as well. She was washing some of the pants that had some evidence on them. Phil, looking at the circumstances after the fact, some of the cover-up, everything else, he obviously knew right from wrong.
Oh yeah, and oh, bless you.
Thank you, sir.
And most of these folks do. Well, all of these folks do. Look, he, as the prosecutor said, he's hiding the implements. He's running away from the scene, and so they clearly know. So this is going to, I was. In a case like this, most of the time the defense is going to try to offer up some sort of insanity plea. And that insanity plea is a very high bar to get over. And as long as it can be shown that he knew what he did was wrong, that running away from it was wrong, from hiding parts of that was wrong, he'll never make the insanity case. So there's no doubt. He knew exactly what he had done. He knew exactly how wrong it was, and I'm amazed at the discussion at the look at him now with the judge describing what he did and describing the type of person that he is, and he is unaffected by it. And he's an interesting subject to look at.
Dr. Leslie Dobson, he's a young teenager, younger than the first defendant we looked at. Can he get better? Can he grow out of this? Get some help while he's locked up? I don't think he's ever going to be walking around free, but can he become somewhat normal? Is that possible?
You know, I think we'd really have to assess his level of psychopathy, his IQ. I know he was in special education. We need to understand his mind and see how he responds to consequences. But we also need to understand what is he watching on media? Who is he following? What characters were in his mind? Was he following serial killers? Is it a media personality he wants to be? Is it a Marvel's character? What is influencing this child to be so obsessed with murder at this time?
Well, I want to say a big thank you to our guests, Dr. Leslie Dobson and Phil Waters. Always great to have both of you on the program, and great to have you in studio, Dr. Dobson. We will see both of you again really, really soon. All right, we're going to continue our coverage of teen killers. Coming up, why did Collin Griffith kill his parents?
.com.
I'm Vinnie Politan. We continue our investigation of teen killers with an extremely unusual case of a teenage boy who killed his parents in separate states at separate times and has not been convicted in either case. Here's the story. In February of 2023, 15-year-old Collin Griffith fatally shot his father, Charles, in Oklahoma. Collin claims self-defense, stating his father had threatened him with a knife. Authorities could not disprove his account, leading to the dismissal of charges. Following this incident, Collin relocated to Florida to live with his mother, Catherine Griffith. Their relationship was tumultuous, marked by frequent conflicts. In November of 2023, Collin was arrested for domestic violence against Catherine. On September 8, 2024, an altercation escalated tragically. Collin called 911, reporting that Catherine had accidentally fallen on a knife during a dispute. However, witnesses reported seeing Collin drag his mother by her hair into the house, and the medical examiner determined her fatal neck wounds were inconsistent with an accident. Collin was charged with first-degree murder and kidnapping. During his trial, his defense argued self-defense, suggesting Catherine had a history of unpredictable and violent behavior. After deliberating, the jury acquitted Collin of all charges in February of 2025. He is free. He has not been convicted in either case. He killed both his parents, but in both cases, there were no consequences. Yeah, he had to go to trial in one of them. The other one, they just decided not to go forward because they felt like they didn't have enough evidence. I want you to take a listen to Collin Griffith and then listen to the sheriff down in Florida, you'll recognize him, who made the arrest, describing some of what was going on between Collin Griffith and his mother.
She hit me in the face, and then I reacted like this. She grabbed onto me. I hit her in the stomach, and then I'm a wrestler. It was just reactive. Grabbed her. She got to the ground. I grabbed the phone. I started recording, and then I left. When she grabbed onto me and she started going at me, I just instinctively, like, my knee went up, and I guess I hit her in the stomach.
Here's what he said. He said he and his mother had a very long fight, and she fell on a knife and killed herself. and she's bleeding from the neck. He didn't say she killed her, she said he's bleeding from the neck. So our 911 operators appropriately were giving them instructions on how to do life-saving techniques. When the deputies arrived, he met the deputies outside, and he was calm, cool, collected, not upset, and he had blood on him. What we found inside was this knife. This knife is 12 inches long, and of the 12 inches, 8 inches of that is the blade. So he's saying that his mother fell on this knife. The medical examiner said it is not reasonable or plausible that she died the way that he said she did.
But again, not guilty. Was found not guilty. So in both situations, the defense, the allegations by Collin Griffith is that his father was coming after him, and then separately at a different time in a different state, his mother was coming after him. And in both cases, they end up dead. He's still alive. Brings us to the next question in our investigation. Why? Why did Collin Griffith kill his parents, his father, and then his mother? Joining me, psychotherapist, author of the book, The Minds of Mass Killers, Understanding and Interrupting the Pathway to Violence, Siobhan Scott, and private investigator with more than 20 years of experience, Jason Jensen, is with us as well. Siobhan, it's hard for me to get shocked, right? These days when it comes to verdicts. This one was one that literally shocked me. I know I shouldn't be shocked, but I was. You know, juries can do whatever they want to do, see the evidence they want to see it. I knew more than they did. But what's going on here with Collin Griffith? Why do you think that he killed his parents in separate incidents at different times, one and then the other?
Yeah, it's a wonderful question, Vinnie. I think that in these cases where parents are murdered by teens, by their children, there are usually one of three possibilities. One is that you have a psychopath, someone who is a predator, who is cold, callous, unemotional, maybe sadistic, likes killing, and has no remorse. There are people that have suggested that Collin Griffith is a psychopath. Another possibility is that a person is psychotic, that they're having delusions and hallucinations. They don't understand what they're doing. There's no evidence that Collin Griffith was psychotic. The third possibility, and the one that seemed to fit for this jury, was that this was a victim of trauma, and this was a complex, violent family dynamic. He had been abused by both parents, and therefore would develop something akin to chronic post-traumatic stress, which causes people to have big reactions when they feel that they're in danger. And sometimes those can be violent reactions. And so my gut goes with the latter based upon the big picture and the history. These were violent people. There was a long history of abuse. And if that had not been the case, he probably would never have been violent.
I want you to take a listen, Jason. Here's Collin talking about, and he's speaking to officers down in Florida about what happened with his father in Oklahoma. Take a listen.
He attacked me, my dad, and when he did, he tried to kill me with a knife, and then it was in Oklahoma, and he died. So, okay. Yeah.
How was that?
I shot him when he tried to kill me.
Did you already have a gun in your hand?
I was fleeing, and the house was filled with guns, 23 to be exact, and
you knew who they were?
I didn't seek one out, I was just trying to run, but then I was cornered, and I had nothing else. There was a gun, and she got my head.
What was he trying to kill you?
He's also a bit of a case, but homophobia.
Jason Jensen, it sort of casually came up. My father had a knife and he died. And then, oh, how did he die? Well, I shot him. Oh, there was a gun there. What are the things from your perspective that you would look at to try to understand if this story is true, because investigators felt like they didn't have enough evidence to go through with charges in the case involving his father.
Well, Vinnie, anytime that there's a claim of self-defense, you're looking for corroboration. You're looking for, like immediately defensive wounds or things of that nature. You're also going to want to learn about the dynamic history of the family and determine whether there's past history of violence, where the alleged accuser here is a victim of other incidences, other fights, other arguments, and clearly, as what we just heard in his explanation in Florida about his father's death, is he really downplays and sugarcoats it as a death rather than I killed him. That didn't come out until it was probed from him. So really, the psychology is he downplays it in his own mind and he's not braggadocious about it.
Siobhan Scott, what are your thoughts about the demeanor that he engages in while describing shooting and killing his father?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you see this sort of disconnection, and it almost makes me think of somebody who can compartmentalize really well and just sort of distance from things and kind of emotionally shut down. And again, on one hand, you can say, well, that looks kind of psychopathic to me. You can also say that people who have gone through a lot of trauma can have reactions like that too, where they're just disconnected from feelings.
Yeah, and everyone after the verdicts is wondering, will he be able to have any semblance of a life? Will he get in trouble again? Will he be accused again? And I guess we all just kind of cross our fingers and hope for the best for Collin Griffith, that he's able to put this behind him and hopefully move on in his life and not have any more of these fatal conflicts with people in his world, in his life. All right, Siobhan Scott and Jason Jensen are going to stay with us. We're going to continue. Still to come, why did Gregg kill her mom?
Our dispatch received a call. The person on the phone was frantic. Their child had shot at them and shot them in the neck.
A trial capturing national attention
as a widow stands accused of brutally killing her husband.
It's a must-see case on Court TV.
The Battered and Burned Murder Trial. Live coverage weekdays, 8/7 Central on Court TV.
It's a whodunit Hollywood story.
Monica Cimentelli is accused of plotting to kill her husband.
Celebrity hairstylist Fabio Cimentelli.
The Celebrity Stylist Murder Trial continues Tuesday on Court TV.
Hey, Miss Gregg, if you want to come down and sit next to your lawyer over here.
Carly Gregg, who was just 14 years old at the time, fatally shot her mother, Ashley Smiley, and shot her stepdad, Heath Smiley, in the shoulder. He survived. Prosecutors charged Carly as an adult with first-degree murder, attempted murder, and tampering with physical evidence.
Our dispatch received a call. The person on the phone was frantic. Their child had shot at them and shot them in the neck. Deputies responded to the scene.
Investigators say Carly shot her mother twice in the head in their home, played with her dogs, and then allegedly texted a friend saying she had an emergency and needed her to come over.
This is an extremely perplexing one, and it was a case obviously we covered here on Court TV involving Carly Gregg, who shot her mother and shot her stepfather when he came home as he's opening the door trying to figure out what was going on. The family had surveillance cameras inside the home, and I'm going to show you these cameras, and you're going to hear the gunshots, but you're going to see Carly Gregg just before she shoots and kills her mother. She'll go off camera, you'll hear the gunshots, and then she comes back, and you'll see what she does immediately afterwards. Let's take a look. And here she is coming back. The gun was hidden from the camera that was behind her back, and now she's texting, and I believe she may be texting her friend to come over. She was a really good student. Her mom worked in the school. This seemingly came out of left field. Like, it was difficult for people to comprehend and really understand what had happened here. Which brings us to the next question in our investigation. Why did Carly Gregg kill her mom? This is a tough one. Still with us, Siobhan Scott and Jason Jensen. Jason, I'll start with you from an investigative perspective. I mean, that's an important question in all of this, right? If you're investigating a shooting, it's almost like an assassination. As she goes into the room, her mom's not suspecting anything, and she just takes her out. What are the things you're going to look for to try to get to the answer of that question of why?
Well, just really watching that behavior there in the camera, it really begs the question if there is an actual defense that you could turn to, because it looks like it's well calculated and she's aware of her surroundings, including that there's surveillance. So you'll want to look deeper into other causes of this type of behavior, like mental health.
Let's take a look now. This is when she is arrested, and this is the body camera video.
Step out real quick for me. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move them around to the front of you, okay? I'm going to move the handcuffs around to the front of you. Okay. All right. All right, so what we're going to do here is we're going to swab your hands, okay? All right. I don't know, I'll ask you a bunch of questions, but obviously you fired with a pistol, correct? Yes, sir. Okay.
Siobhan Scott, 14 years old. What's going on here?
You know, I think we can safely say that Carly is not a psychopath. She had always been described as a wonderful girl, very pro-social, kind. Even after this, her stepfather had only good things to say about her. So this isn't a characteristic pattern of behavior for her. Something went wrong. And I think it's key that she had significant mental health symptoms and a significant treatment history. And it's speculated that because it was reported she was hearing voices, that to some degree at this point she had had a psychotic break, and that's what hearing voices would indicate. Psychosis means that there is something wrong with your brain. We look at that now as a biological illness. We know that her father was diagnosed with bipolar disorder, which can be a very severe form of mental illness. Under the wrong circumstances, a person with a condition like that could become violent and behave out of character. A week before this incident happened, Carly's psychiatrist had changed her medication. And psychiatry is not a perfect science by any means. I think doctors really do their best. But it could be that the new medication triggered a hypomanic or manic episode with an increase in psychotic symptoms, and that could have been the precipitating factor here.
Let's take a listen, because there was an expert witness talking about state of mind during the course of the trial. Let's see what they have to say.
What was your ultimate opinion as to whether or not Carly Gregg was insane at the time of the murder, attempted murder, and tampering with physical evidence on March the 19th, 2024?
I'm happy to discuss my opinion, but I do want to say the ultimate opinion is for the fact finders to decide, and I would just offer my opinion. So I do not want to speak to the ultimate decision, but I just want to lay out my opinion based on everything that I have researched and written and read and done. So my opinion is that Carly does not meet Mississippi's standard for insanity at the time of the offense, and that she knew the nature, quality, and wrongfulness of her actions during that day.
You know, one of the key factors in all of this, Jason, was she ran away afterwards. She fled the scene. And to me, that's always a big determining factor. Like, do you understand what you did was wrong, which is the legal standard that we use in trials. And to me, that was a big factor in all this, that she fled after the shootings.
Right, as you're indicating, that would be reflective of consciousness of guilt. But just like Dr. Siobhan just mentioned about the changing of her medication, that reminds me of the case in 2005 of an incident in 2001 where a 12-year-old who reacted negatively, allegedly, to his antidepressants being changed, shot and killed both of his grandparents. So that was tested in trial, and ultimately the jury ruled against it. But I do believe that, we know from the labeling, the black box labeling on medication, that there are times that severe reaction to changes in medication like antidepressants can lead to suicidal ideation and behavior, which couples that with homicidal behavior and actions as well.
I remember that case very well, Jason. That was back in the day. I was at Court TV when all that was happening. Siobhan, let's talk about the age here. She was only 14. What do you see the rest of her life looking like?
At this point, her future is very bleak because of the conviction, and I find it really tragic because, we would like to think that, when mental health treatment is involved, we can prevent these kind of violent things from happening. And so there was clearly a failure in this case, and we've got to do better. It's just really tragic, especially considering that everyone describes her previous to this as just a really wonderful young girl.
Yeah, the other thing that struck all of us when we watched the case was one of her victims, the surviving victim, her stepfather, was very sympathetic towards her. And, if it was up to him, he would have, taken her back home and continued to raise her. I mean, that's where he was in all this. And I think that speaks a lot about who she was before all of this happening. And, but trying to understand why someone does it, sometimes it's a little tricky, and our system has to deal with it the way we do. I really want to thank both of you for joining us today. I know your time is valuable and your insight is so enlightening. Siobhan Scott, Jason Jensen, we'll see you again really, really soon. Really do appreciate it. Now, we have covered an absolute range of teen killers through the years here at Court TV. And for the most part, there's always some sort of psychological aspect to each case. And we saw that in the cases we covered here. Sometimes it involves medications, and sometimes it involves deeply disturbed children. And all of that, I think, absolutely plays a role in the causation. But rarely do they rise to the level of an actual defense for the killer. And then when that happens, our system has to figure out what to do with these children. I'm Vinnie Politan. We'll keep digging for answers as the investigation continues.